I believe it's time to start the national, full-blown conversation about reparations in this country.
Immigration reform isn't enough unless we also decriminalize border crossings.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Well, the growing popularity of radical candidates and policies among Democrats has 2020 hopeful and long shot John Delaney worried. The Wall Street Journal tonight reporting that the candidate fears the party may be passing by rank-and-file Democrats as it moves toward 2020, or worse, driving them toward Trump. Here to weigh in is Doug Schoen, former advisor to Bill Clinton and a Fox News contributor. All right, Doug, you say the Democrats' leftward lunge couldn't come at a worse time for the party. Why is that?
Well, absolutely. Look, Donald Trump has been governing with a philosophy of speaking directly to his base. That leaves the center open and accessible, but not to a party that, as you were reporting, is for reparations, open borders, taxing the middle class out of existence for Medicare for all. That lurch to the left, as you describe it, could cost the Democrats the 2020 election.
Doug, even President Obama in Chicago today seemed to acknowledge that there's some kind of purity test going on among Democrats that may not be helpful. Watch.
This idea of purity and you're never compromised and you're always politically woke and all that stuff, you should get over that quickly. The world is messy. There are ambiguities. People who do really good stuff have flaws.
You know what I see when I see him speaking? I mean, I don't agree with him on anything pretty much, but just no one touches Obama as far as like ease of speech, and he's comfortable with who he is. You know what I'm saying? When you watch him speaking, there's no one on that Democrat stage, Doug, who even comes close to that. I mean, not even close.
Well, that's exactly right, Laura. But the Democratic base is so far left. Their response to what the president said that was so reasonable and thoughtful is, oh, no, we need to be true blue. Oh, no, we need redistribution. Oh, no, we need to oppose the president at every juncture, whether he's right or wrong. And frankly, President Obama's right. The left-wing Democrats are wrong. And we sit here in mortal peril of blowing an election we can win because of that.
Well, Biden, who's probably the only one who can win in the South, if any of these Democrats can win in the South, you know, he's in 4th place now in a new Iowa poll. He's 3rd in New Hampshire. And here's what he said today, Doug, about his, well, lackluster support.
Can you lose Iowa, and now we understand from a new CNN poll you're coming in 3rd in New Hampshire. Can you lose the first 2 big races and rely on South Carolina to be your firewall?
No, I plan on doing very well in both those. The polls, as you know, are up and down. I've been ahead in Iowa. I've been ahead in South Carolina. I'm ahead in all the national polls with occasional one that pops up that's different.
Doug, has his moment passed, or is he still very much viable?
Well, I sure wouldn't call what I heard just now very much viable. He is the only moderate in the race. But, Laura, he has been so uncertain and so unsteady. His contributors are going south. He's spending ridiculous sums of money on private air travel. And I just don't think he necessarily is bringing the energy, enthusiasm, and spring to his step, if you will, that a victorious presidential candidate needs.
All right, Doug, thank you so much. Great to see you tonight, as always. And speaking of disastrous liberal ideas, New York City now has a new way of dealing with its rampant homeless population. Check this out. They're secretly shipping them to other states. Now the Big Apple has sent thousands of local homeless families to cities across the country, complete with a full year of rent, courtesy of the taxpayers. And it's all thanks to Mayor Bill de Blasio.
We in our generation have to find new solutions. The whole country is grappling with this, and I think it's important that we be honest that the whole country is searching for a solution.
Now, I've heard of passing the buck, but Dr. Drew Pinsky, This is like passing the homeless, except the people who are receiving the homeless in the Gulf Coast and Utah, these mayors say, we didn't even know they were coming.
They had no idea.
And bringing lots of problems, too. Tell us about it.
Of course. It's a sad story. And listen, when I listen to the mayor talk there, I think to myself, oh, we need to struggle with this. There's one city in the entire country that has addressed the homeless population honestly, and that is the city of San Diego. And they are the only city that is having a significant drop in homelessness. What is the one thing they have done? They have stopped looking at housing and started looking at the mental health disaster that is playing out on our streets. This story, this SOTA story, as we call it, which is this program where people are given a year of rent and let to go wherever they want. It's one of the saddest chapters in the homeless story. Look, it makes very appealing sense. We're going to give you a year of rent. We're going to let you go wherever you want. Yes, if housing was the issue, this is a perfect experiment that tells you housing isn't the issue. If housing were the issue, this would be a thriving intervention, and it's an abject failure.
Yeah, I would give everybody an idea of how successful this program is, dovetailing from what Drew just said. This is what one of the recipients told a local news station, okay? It was completely unlivable. We could not stay there any longer. We went to a shelter for another 6 months.
Sad.
$89 million, and that's
Sad.
what New York City is paying for. They're ending up in the Metairie down in Louisiana,
Right.
and these little towns in Utah. And the people there, like, we don't have the budget for this. We don't have the ability with all the spillover issues that occur.
Absolutely.
But
no one's looking
their answer.
Nobody's providing the mental health services they need. This all started in 1963 when President Kennedy started the Community Mental Health Act. They eviscerated the state mental health system, and we belched all those patients out onto the streets, the prisons, and the nursing homes. This is part of that story, and unless we undo that, we will never get to the bottom of this. One of the sad elements in this story is exactly what you're pointing out, which is the landlords are given a year of rent essentially up front. You don't think that's going to get abused? And there's all kinds of stringent criteria for what you have to provide for a living environment. How are you going to follow that up all over the country? You've given the landlord the money, and you've let the people go. And what? We're going to have social workers from New York scan the country to make sure these landlords have been living up to their deal? Of course not.
Well, Dr. Drew, some of the homeless or a lot of them actually have made their way back to New York.
Yep.
Somehow, and indeed, some are filing suit now against the city, saying that you screwed up our life even from what it was before. So that's how perverse it is. They're actually suing them for exporting them, paying for their rent, coming back. They want a different situation. But right in D.C., Dr. Drew, next time you come here, you and I are going to walk like 4 blocks from here. And it entire underpasses, bridges.
I've seen it.
It is tense as far. Oh, you say it. It's tense as far as the eye can see. And this is like, I don't know, a mile away from the U.S. Not even a mile away from the U.S. Capitol. It's reprehensible. People shouldn't live this way.
Agreed. They need help, and they need the proper kind of help.
Absolutely. Dr. Drew, thank you so much. Great to see you again.
You too.
And
Thanks.
a Democrat congresswoman gets caught having an affair with a staffer, but then says the right-wing media is to blame for it? I call out the hypocrisy next.